Hello and welcome to Book Furnace. Today we have three things on our agenda. First, I'm going to talk about a book that fundamentally changed my opinion about Ursula K. Le Guin. Second, I'm going to address my empty bookshelf and what had happened to the previous one. And lastly, I have a big announcement to make. So, Ursula Le Guin, again. Actually, the very first video on this channel was about two puppets discussing whether or not The Left Hand of Darkness is a worthy book. And if in case you're wondering, Albert is still here, ready to debate you anytime, and his opponent Lassie is currently sleeping in a different room. But anyways, one interesting thing about that video is that, you know how people say a task failed successfully? Well, that video is the opposite of that. It's a task succeeding failurely. That's not really a word, but you get what I'm saying. I tried to present arguments for both sides for liking and disliking that book so that, viewers can form their own opinion. But I think I did it a little too well, and people thought that my actual opinion was the opposite of what I felt. So I kind of made the devil's advocate argument so strong that people fell for it. I didn't like the book. I did not like The Left Hand of Darkness. Yeah, crucify me if you must, but that's just how it is. And so today, I would like to share with you a book that actually made me like Ursula Le Guin as an author. And this is not the book. This is a different book by Ursula K. Le Guin. It's the only one that I actually own as a physical copy, so it's going to be a stand-in for our novel. This is Steering the Craft, and it's also a good book, but this is more about the craft of writing. And I do respect Ursula K. Le Guin as a teacher, but let us talk about the other one, and let me get it from my... All right, there it is. The Lathe of Heaven. Totally a real book in my hands. But the book is about a guy named Orr whose dreams alter reality, and he tries to work with it, kind of fix it with a psychiatrist, and that psychiatrist decides to grab this power to himself. I don't want to go in detail and don't want to spoil anything about the book, but what is interesting about it is that this was the first book that convinced me that Ursula actually can write an engaging story. Because previously, I saw the beauty of language. Everybody praises her prose, and I see why. Speaking of Steering the Craft, I do believe that she really is very intentional about the word choice, about how she crafts her sentences. I believe there's genuine passion about the language and the beauty of language, but her characters are often very flat and almost caricatures and very placeholdery, that they have a very clear message behind them in most cases. Her plot is very plodding and not engaging. So I was impressed with her as a scholar, as a person who seeks beauty, but I was not impressed with her as a writer who can write an engaging story. And with Lathe of Heaven, this completely turned around for me. My pet theory is that before writing that book, Ursula K. Le Guin gave a call to Philip K. Dick because they were actually in the same class, I believe, in their master's program or something like that. And so I think she asked him, dude, how do you do this? And he totally shared all of his secrets, because she wrote this mind-bending, extremely exciting adventure while also retaining her identity as a beautiful craftsman of language and a very talented linguist almost in some ways. I guess I meant to say wordsmith, not a linguist. So I very, very highly recommend this book, even though she still does some of the things that sometimes annoy me. She weaves in her social commentary in ways that I sometimes deeply disagree with. So for example, in Lathe of Heaven, there was one black character, and what is interesting is that in one of the dreams, mild spoiler, in one of the dreams, the main character comes up with a world where there's no racial inequality, but it happens in a very unfortunate way, in the sense that all races just become the same. Everybody is gray. And in that world, that black character disappears. In Ursula's description, the blackness of this character was so central to it that if you remove it, nothing is left. So basically, all people remain if you remove their race, but that black person is basically, if they're not black, they're nothing. I don't know, maybe that sounds inspiring and empowering to some. To me, it sounds extremely stupid. But I could overlook things like that, and everybody has their own views. And I thoroughly enjoyed the book. And this whole rant of mine that you just heard brings me to another theme of authenticity. And this also relates to this bookshelf that is now so empty and sad. So what happened to my beautiful bookshelf? Well, what happened is that, of course, I didn't have any bookshelf. It's a green screen. But what I realized is that some people thought that this was actually my room, my bookshelf, and I didn't mean to mislead or deceive anybody. And what is also unfortunate is that some people thought that I was trying to make it so real that people would be deceived, which is, I guess, in some ways even worse or just as bad. So right now I have a cartoonish bookshelf so that hopefully you see that this is not real. This is just drawn by Midjourney, by the way. And as I review books, they're going to be added there. So all the books are going to be mine, but I don't usually read physical books because if I buy them, if I buy everything I read, my wife is going to kill me. We're going to run out of space. And so I usually read either just ebooks or audiobooks. So books like this is what is going to populate my bookshelf. And generally going forward, I'll try to be more authentic. I won't hold back my opinions to the extent that you cannot tell what I actually believe, like what happened in that debate video that I started my channel with. Now, that rant aside, I promised you a big announcement, and the announcement is as follows. I finished another big edit of my novel that I've been working on for years. It's actually that situation where I've been working on my novel for so long that it turned from science fiction into alternative history. I'm not joking. I started writing before the pandemic, and in my novel there is a little bit of a pandemic. It's not a central theme. And then the pandemic happened, and now it sounds like I'm trying to capitalize on this theme. I'm totally not. But anyways, I'm done with another big round of edits, and I'm pushing to publish it within 6 months. The novel is about a world where empathy is cranked to the extreme. If I punch you, I get a bruise myself. If I step on an ant, I might get crippled or even die. So that is the setting. I will reveal more about the plot in later videos, but the big announcement is that if you subscribe to my Patreon, even for free, and join my Discord, at the time when the book is released, if you shoot me a message, I'll send you a free PDF. And if you're really interested and want to receive a copy before the book is released, or if you want a physical copy, well, subscribe and stay tuned.